So, today I'm going to be learning Spanish, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I haven't really conjured up the necessary discipline for me to be consistent with it. And so I've noticed that I'll try for one day and then I'll give up the next, basically. So, this is sort of the point of why I'm making the videos. I'm making the videos mainly for myself, so I can hold myself accountable for when I skip a day or don't do something, because I like to implement a daily routine that allows me to achieve my goal in the long term. Because I know that things don't come the next day after you do them, so I like to create a routine, something I can do every single day. You know, um, and I did this with Chinese also, but I found that the daily routines that you go through when you learn a language, they change because you develop. And so as you transform, as your skills develop, um, the means of improving also change. So, what I would recommend for a Chinese, an English speaker who's learning Chinese in the beginning would be a completely different sort of daily routine to someone who is an intermediate speaker or an advanced speaker. So that's an interesting thing. There's not like a one size fits all routine that you can just do and you can just learn a language. You can't just do 30 minutes of listening a day and then boom, you know a language. It's like at the beginning, you have to take a completely different approach. And then eventually, over time, you're going to have to refine that approach and then change it, because of course, when you do the approach in the first place, it's not going to be very efficient. And then you start to get efficient, and then by the time it's efficient, it has no use anymore because you've developed throughout that whole learning process. And what it still had a use, but you know what I mean. Now you have to change your actual method of. You have to change your daily habits. So instead of doing like a million hours of reading, like you would in the beginning, for example, to expand your vocabulary, now you've got to do much more listening now. And now you might have to put yourself in an environment where you have to speak, or as you progress, as you get better. Anyway, I'm yapping a bunch of shit, but I really want to learn Spanish, for a bunch of different reasons. But um, I think that, well, it's obviously very different to Chinese. It's supposed to be easier, so then considering that I'm a native English speaker, it's supposed to be easier than learning Chinese, um, which should be good. But I don't really know about that because, I mean, not that I have actually started learning Spanish really, but I've got an idea of how Spanish sort of works a little bit, of the context of what the difficulty, where the difficulties might lie within the language. So, like like the verb conjunctions and stuff like that. And in Chinese, we don't have that. The grammar in Chinese is actually quite simple, you know. So it's not even that fucking hard. I actually don't even think Chinese is that difficult if you actually try. It's really not that hard. And hopefully that'll be the same with many other languages. I don't just want to learn one language. I want to learn a bunch because that'll be fucking sick. You know, that'd be fucking sick if I knew a bunch of languages. I knew what everyone's fucking talking about. That'd be fucking cool. So, anyway, what I think my method is going to be is that I've got Link, which is a paid subscription that I use to learn languages, basically, and it pretty much is just I can't be fucked explaining it, but anyway, it helps me. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get the mini stories on them, and then I'm going to, unlike Chinese, I'm going to take a different approach and I'm going to actually write everything in Spanish because I assume writing in Spanish is obviously going to be a lot easier than writing in Chinese, because it doesn't have a million different fucking characters you have to remember. It's obviously has the Latin alphabet for the most part. Yeah, so I'm just going to use that. So I'm going to write that because that's going to help my brain remember shit. And yeah, I'm not really smart when it comes to all this learning stuff, but I just think if I write all the mini stories down, it'll give my brain a little glimpse of what the grammar's like, and also it'll expand my vocabulary, which I think is the most important part when you're beginning to learn a language. Although I have actually no fucking idea. I've only learned a little bit of Chinese, and I've dissected that a bit. But let's just hope that this approach will work during the beginning anyway. So I'm just gonna get the mini stories. I'm gonna write them all down, and I'm going to recognize. I'm gonna start to recognize all the words and their meanings. So I'm pretty much just going to be expanding my vocabulary, which is pretty much the start. I don't do shit in a fucking orthodox way. Like I don't. Like I was starting to watch a grammar video on all the fundamentals of Spanish, but it was fucking boring and I just could be fucked. And I think that's partially the reason why like my discipline's been really shit on it, because I've been trying to convince myself to go through the process of learning like a grammar video, and it wasn't even that long. Like if I did it every single day, I would have got through the video and know all the fundamentals of the grammar. But it's extremely demotivating, and I don't give a shit. So it's way more stimulating and much more fun for my brain if I just start get straight into it, start fucking learning words and shit. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, so I'm gonna write the first story of Link. I'm going to write down, and that should help me. That should be some good progress, and I think that this will be a good idea if I keep doing that consistently. If I just keep writing down all the mini stories and keep writing down a bunch of Spanish words, within their context, because that's really important. Otherwise, the grammar will never sit in correctly. So writing words within their context and just making sure that I know the translations to those words. So when I reread them after writing them down on my paper, I know exactly what the fuck's going on. And then I'm going to wake up the next day, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but just with a different story. So that's what I'm going to do.